She went to donate blood for a stranger, and the millionaire across the desk was her one-night stand. The room seemed to tilt on its axis. What she did, she'd been the one left without explanation, without so much as a note. Have you ever run into someone from your past at the worst possible moment? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The man whose life she was about to save with her blood was the same man who had walked away from her bed without a goodbye 2 years ago. Maya Johnson froze, needle already inserted in her arm, as Christopher Hale walked through the donor center door. His tailored suit contrasted sharply with the clinical white walls. When their eyes met across the room, time collapsed between them. "Mr. Hale, we found a match," the nurse announced, unaware of the electric current shooting between them. Maya couldn't move as Christopher approached, his expression shifting from confusion to recognition to something harder, colder. The donation center hummed with quiet activity, the antiseptic smell hanging in the air between them like an invisible barrier. "You," he said simply, his voice lower than she remembered. Maya's training kicked in, overriding her shock. "I'm almost done here," she managed, nodding toward the blood bag filling beside her. "Small world." "Too small," Christopher replied, his jaw tight. 2 years had only sharpened his features, added a sophisticated edge to the raw magnetism she remembered from that night in Miami. Flashes of memory hit her in waves, his hands on her skin, champagne at sunrise, the empty bed she'd woken up to. Her cheeks flushed traitorously as the nurse returned. "You two know each other?" the nurse asked, glancing between them. "Briefly," Maya replied, while Christopher said nothing, his eyes never leaving her face. "Well, it's lucky you came in today," the nurse continued cheerfully. "Mr. Hale has an extremely rare blood type. Only about 1 in 1,000 people are compatible donors." Maya's medical mind clicked pieces together. "AB negative with the KEL antigen absence?" she asked, her nurse's knowledge surfacing through her personal shock. Christopher's expression darkened further. "How did you know that?" Before she could answer, the nurse whispered something in his ear. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly, then narrowed again. "You're telling me that her blood, specifically her blood, is what I need." His voice held an accusation that cut through Maya like ice. "I'm just here to donate," Maya said carefully. "I didn't know who needed it." Christopher stepped closer. "After what you did, I'm not sure I want anything from you." The room seemed to tilt on its axis. What she did, she'd been the one left without explanation, without so much as a note. When the nurse whispered that his rare blood type matched only 0.1% of donors, Maya realized why she was really there, and why the look in Christopher's eyes wasn't just recognition, but fury. Have you ever run into someone from your past at the worst possible moment? When the universe throws you together with the one person you never thought you'd see again. Drop a comment below if fate has ever played tricks on you like this. 2 years earlier, she had given him her body for a night. Now she was giving her blood to keep him alive. Yet in both cases, he seemed to think she had ulterior motives. Maya remembered Miami like it was yesterday. Her friend Tasha's bachelorette weekend had been a blur of beach days and club nights until that final evening when she'd met Christopher at the hotel's rooftop bar. Miami's neon skyline reflected in the rooftop pool where they'd first locked eyes, the city's pulse matching the quickening of her heartbeat as he approached. He'd been different then. Relaxed in linen pants and an unbuttoned shirt, his usual corporate armor shed for vacation. "You're not looking at the view," he'd said, catching her staring. "I found something better to look at," she'd replied, the fruity cocktail making her bolder than usual. They talked for hours, about his venture capital work, her nursing career, their favorite books, childhood memories. None of the superficial nightclub chatter. By midnight, they were the last ones on the rooftop. "I should go," she'd said finally. "My friends will wonder where I am." Or, he'd suggested, eyes holding hers, "You could stay." His penthouse suite had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay, but neither had been interested in the view. His kiss had tasted like expensive whiskey and certainty, his hands moving across her body with deliberate purpose, finding places that made her gasp. "Is this okay?" he'd asked repeatedly, his restraint visibly slipping with each consent she gave. More than okay, she'd whispered back, surprising herself with how much she wanted him. A stranger she'd just met, yet who somehow felt familiar. They'd explored each other until sunrise, his mouth trailing fire across her skin, her nails leaving marks on his back. When they finally collapsed, breathless and satisfied, she'd felt something she hadn't expected, connection beyond the physical. "Stay for breakfast," he'd murmured against her hair. "I make killer omelets." "Promise?" she'd asked, already drifting to sleep. "Promise," he'd replied, kissing her forehead. But when she woke, the bed was empty. No note, no number, no goodbye. Just rumpled sheets and the lingering scent of his cologne. She checked her phone. Nothing. Housekeeping knocked as she was dressing, rushing her out. Back in Atlanta, she'd tried to forget him. Weeks later, a job offer in Newark gave her the perfect excuse to leave Georgia and the memory of that night behind. What Maya didn't know as she boarded her flight home was that Christopher had left her a note with his number, a note the hotel maid had discarded, leaving him to believe she'd been the one to disappear without a trace. When was the last time you felt an instant connection with someone that defied explanation? That moment when chemistry overrides caution? Tell me in the comments if you've ever experienced that rare, immediate spark. Her blood was flowing into his veins, even as his accusations cut through her heart. 3 days after their shock reunion at the donor center, Maya stood in a private hospital room watching her donated blood drip through and for into Christopher's arm. As an ER nurse, she'd seen countless transfusions, but never one where her own blood connected her to the patient. "You don't have to stay," Christopher said flatly, eyes fixed on the ceiling. "Actually, I do. Hospital protocol for directed donations," she lied. She could have left, but professional curiosity and personal unfinished business kept her rooted to the spot. The privacy curtain around his hospital bed couldn't contain the electricity between them, tension crackling in the sterile air as monitors beeped in a regular rhythm. His skin looked paler than she remembered, dark circles under his eyes suggesting this illness wasn't new. "How long have you been sick?" she asked, keeping her tone professional. "Why?" Looking for weaknesses to exploit. The bitterness in his voice startled her. "I'm a nurse, Christopher. Caring about sick people is literally my job. And tracking down wealthy men is what, your hobby?" He finally looked at her, eyes cold. "Quite a coincidence that out of all the donor centers in New York, you walked into mine." Maya's professional composure cracked. "I've been working at Newark Memorial for 18 months. I donate monthly. I had no idea you were in New York, let alone needed blood." "Right." His laugh held no humor. "Just like you had no idea who I was in Miami? No advanced research on the venture capitalist staying in the penthouse." The accusation hit like a slap. "You think I targeted you? For what? Money. It wouldn't be the first time. I didn't know who you were when we met," she said through clenched teeth. "And I certainly didn't know you were a paranoid jerk who assumes every woman is after his wallet." A nurse poked her head in, eyes widening at the tension. "Everything okay?" "Fine," they answered simultaneously. After the nurse left, silence stretched between them. Maya checked his vitals, maintaining professional distance despite the memories flooding back with each accidental brush against the skin. "Your fever's down," she noted, her hand briefly touching his forehead. Something flickered in his eyes at the contact, a softening quickly replaced by guardedness. "The doctor says your body's accepting the transfusion well," she continued. "My blood type is apparently an unusually perfect match." "Too perfect," he muttered. As if on cue, his phone lit up on the bedside table. Maya glanced at it automatically and froze when she saw her own name on the screen alongside a message preview. "Hope you enjoyed Miami. For more time together, wire." "What is that?" she whispered. Christopher grabbed the phone, staring at the message. "Evidence," he said coldly. "I never sent that." Maya's heart raced. "Christopher, someone's pretending to be me." When Christopher's phone lit up with her name and a 2-year-old message she'd never sent, Maya realized someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to keep them apart. What would you do if someone you once trusted accused you of something you never did? Would you walk away or fight to clear your name? Let me know in the comments. The rare blood disorder threatening his life wasn't the only mystery that needed solving. The greater puzzle was who had methodically erased all traces of their connection 2 years ago. It's autoimmune hemolytic anemia with a rare complication, Dr. Eleanor Voss explained, sliding Christopher's file across the conference table in his hospital suite. The distinguished hematologist's reputation preceded her, brilliant, exacting, and the foremost expert in rare blood disorders. But why do I specifically need her blood? Christopher asked, not looking at Maya. Dr. Voss adjusted her glasses. Your condition destroys red blood cells faster than your body can replace them. Ms. Johnson's blood contains a rare protein marker that, for reasons we don't fully understand, your immune system doesn't attack. Maya leaned forward. But that's extremely unusual, isn't it? For someone to have such a specific compatibility? 1 in millions, Dr. Voss confirmed. Which is why we're fortunate you found each other. Rain pelted the hospital windows, turning Manhattan into a blur of gray as they poured over medical files, their shadows merging on the wall behind them. Maya's nursing knowledge helped her understand most of the terminology, but this case went beyond standard medicine. These treatment protocols require multiple transfusions, Maya noted, flipping through the pages. Over several weeks. Christopher's jaw tightened. How many? At least 4 more sessions, possibly 6, Dr. Voss replied, with Ms. Johnson remaining available between treatments for emergency situations. That's impossible, Christopher said flatly. I have a company to run, and I have a job in Newark, Maya added. Dr. Voss's expression remained impassive. Mr. Hale, without these transfusions, your organs will begin failing within days. Ms. Johnson, your blood is literally keeping them alive. The weight of this reality settled between them. Maya's fingers accidentally brushed Christopher's as they both reached for the same page, sending an unmistakable current through her hand. She pulled back quickly, but not before noticing his sharp intake of breath. There must be another way, Christopher insisted. There isn't, Dr. Voss stated firmly. Not if you want to live. While Dr. Voss stepped out to take a call, Maya noticed something odd in the file. Dates that didn't align, test results from before they'd even met in Miami. Christopher, she said quietly, look at this. According to these records, someone tested my blood against yours 2.5 years ago, before we ever met. His eyes widened as he examined the document. That's impossible, unless our meeting wasn't coincidence after all. The treatment protocol required a donor to remain available for weeks, which meant Maya would have to temporarily move into the guest room of Christopher's penthouse, where memories of that night in Miami would have nowhere to hide. Have you ever discovered that what you believed about someone was completely wrong? How did that change everything? Share your experience in the comments below. Living with a man whose life depended on her blood meant confronting the chemistry that still flowed between them, a current stronger than either wanted to admit. Maya wheeled her suitcase into Christopher's Upper East Side penthouse, stopping just inside the doorway. The place was nothing like his vacation home in Miami, where that had been warm woods and ocean colors. This was all sleek minimalism, glass, chrome, and stark white surfaces. His penthouse gleamed with minimalist luxury, all glass and steel and emptiness, a space designed for isolation rather than connection. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered spectacular Manhattan views, but the apartment itself felt untouched, like a museum rather than a home. The guest room is this way, Christopher said stiffly, leading her down a hallway. Bathrooms attached. The housekeeper comes Mondays and Thursdays. I'll stay out of your way, Maya promised. I'm just here because Dr. Voss insisted. We both know why you're here, he replied, his tone carefully neutral. To keep me alive, nothing more. The guest room was as impersonal as the rest of the place, expensive but without character. Maya set her medical bag on the pristine white bedspread. I'll need to check your vitals twice daily, she said, slipping into nurse mode. And we should establish a schedule for meals to maintain your nutrition levels. Christopher leaned against the doorframe, looking exhausted despite his efforts to appear strong. I usually eat at the office. Or not at all. That stops now, Maya said firmly. Your body needs consistent nutrition to rebuild blood cells. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Are you always this bossy with patients? Only the difficult ones. She allowed herself a small smile in return. They established awkward routines. Mornings, she'd check his blood pressure and temperature before he left for work. Evenings, she'd prepare simple, iron-rich meals they ate in strained silence. They circled each other carefully, hyper-aware of the other's presence. The third night, Maya emerged from the shower to find Christopher in the kitchen, shirt unbuttoned as he reached for a glass in a high cabinet. The sight of his bare chest, the same chest she'd once traced with her fingertips, made her freeze. Water dripped from her hair onto her robe-covered shoulders. He turned, catching her stare. For a moment, the pretense dropped, naked awareness flashing between them. Sorry, she mumbled, clutching her robe tighter. I thought you were working late. Meeting ended early. His eyes lingered on her damp hair, her flushed face. She retreated quickly, heart pounding. These living arrangements were impossible. Every accidental brush in the hallway, every shared space carried echoes of Miami. On the fifth day, Maya woke to a crash from the kitchen. She rushed out to find Christopher collapsed on the floor, a broken glass beside him. Christopher, she dropped to her knees, medical training taking over as she checked his pulse, rapid but present. Her hands moved to his face, his chest, checking for fever. His eyes fluttered open, finding hers inches away. Her hand still rested on his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Don't, he whispered, but neither knew if he meant her touch or the feelings were surging between them. What's more challenging? Living with someone you once knew intimately, but now feels like a stranger, or acknowledging that the attraction never really disappeared? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Nathaniel's lockpicks made quick work of the door. Inside, a woman huddled in the corner of a sparse room. Thin mattress, metal toilet, single light fixture. She wore a hospital gown, hair cropped short. When she looked up, Mariah gasped. The eyes that met theirs were Nathaniel's eyes. The exact same unusual blue-gray. But where his held intelligence and purpose, hers were vacant, animal-like with fear. Sophia? Nathaniel's voice broke on the name. The woman flinched, curling tighter into herself. We're here to help, Mariah said gently, crouching down. We won't hurt you. No response, just rocking back and forth, thin arms wrapped around knees. She doesn't understand, Nathaniel whispered, devastation in every syllable. What have they done to her? Mariah moved closer, slowly extending her hand. We need to go. Can you stand? Footsteps in the corridor sent panic through them both. Someone was coming. Now or never, Nathaniel said, gently lifting his sister. She didn't resist, going limp in his arms like a child. They barely made it into a supply closet before a guard walked past, keys jangling. Through the crack in the door, Mariah could see he carried a tray of food. He'd discover the empty room any second. We need a distraction, she whispered. Nathaniel nodded toward a fire alarm on the wall outside. Think you can reach it? The moment the guard entered Sophia's room, Mariah slipped out, pulled the alarm, and ducked back into hiding. Sirens wailed. The guard rushed out, radioing for help. Now, Nathaniel said, shifting Sophia's weight. Back exit. They moved quickly through the maze of corridors, following emergency exit signs. The alarm had triggered an evacuation. They passed two other staff members rushing toward the main building, too focused on the emergency to notice them. Outside, the forest offered cover. Sophia remained silent, eyes darting between them, occasionally touching the birthmark visible beneath her gown's thin fabric. She has the same mark, Mariah realized. They kept her all these years. Nathaniel's voice shook with rage. My own family. Why not kill her? Why keep her imprisoned? Insurance, maybe. Leverage. Or maybe they weren't finished with whatever they were doing. They reached the SUV just as shouts echoed from the property. Their escape had been discovered. Nathaniel laid Sophia gently across the back seat. When their hands touched during the process, Mariah felt the connection between them, the shared purpose that had become something deeper. "You drive," he said, sliding into the back with his sister. "I'll try to keep her calm." Mariah took the wheel, adrenaline sharpening her focus as she navigated the winding road downward. In the rearview mirror, she caught glimpses of Nathaniel cradling Sophia, murmuring gentle reassurances she couldn't possibly understand. How do you help someone heal from wounds so deep they've shaped an entire life? They were halfway down the mountain when headlights appeared. Not police, but sleek black SUVs of private security. "My aunt's people," Nathaniel said grimly. "They know we found her, and they can't let any of us leave alive." The woman who stole children for profit never expected to face one who got away, or the nephew whose inheritance would now dismantle her empire. "Drive faster," Nathaniel urged as the SUVs gained ground. "I'm trying." Mariah gripped the wheel, taking curves at dangerous speeds. "There's a town 15 miles ahead. Public places, witnesses. They won't care. These people operate above the law." Sophia whimpered in the back seat, sensing the tension. Nathaniel held her close, protective instincts in overdrive. "Call Chun," he instructed. "Emergency protocol." Mariah connected the call on speaker. Chun answered immediately. "They found us," Nathaniel said without preamble. "Need immediate assistance." GPS tracking activated, Chun responded. "Law enforcement contacted. Transmit evidence now." Nathaniel pulled out his phone, tapping rapidly. "Sending everything, photos, documents, video from the facility. Once confirmed, I'll release to media outlets." "Do it." The pursuing vehicles were close enough now that Mariah could see the drivers, men in dark suits with earpieces. Professional. Dangerous. "Hold on," she warned, spotting a narrow side road. She wrenched the wheel, tires skidding on gravel. The maneuver bought them seconds, nothing more. The road narrowed further, becoming little more than a trail. Dead end, she realized too late. "Keep going," Nathaniel instructed. Through the trees, the SUV crashed through underbrush, branches scraping against windows. They emerged onto another road, paved wider. Signs indicated a private estate. "No," Nathaniel whispered, recognizing the gates ahead. "She's here." Eleanor Cole's mountain home sprawled behind wrought iron gates. Security cameras tracked their approach. "Your aunt?" "Yes." We've driven right to her doorstep. The pursuing vehicles caught up, surrounding them. Men with guns emerged, professional and calm. "We can't outrun them," Mariah said, hands tied on the wheel. "Then we face them." Nathaniel's voice hardened. "I want to look her in the eye anyway." They were escorted inside at gunpoint. A grand mountain lodge with priceless art and sweeping views. Eleanor Cole waited in a sun-filled sitting room, elegant in expensive casual wear, silver hair perfectly styled. She looked like any wealthy grandmother, except for the cold calculation in her eyes. Nathaniel. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. What a surprise. "Aunt Eleanor." His voice could have frozen fire. "Or should I call you by your business title? Child trafficker? Kidnapper?" She ignored the accusation, eyes moving to Sophia, who cowered behind Mariah. "I see you found your sister. Damaged goods now, I'm afraid. Such a shame. You did this to her. Your own niece. Business is business, darling. Nothing personal. You stole children, branded them, sold them." Eleanor's laugh was light, unconcerned. Such dramatic language. "We provided specialized adoption services to discerning clients. Your sister was an unfortunate necessity. Your parents asked too many questions. And Mariah? The others. Collateral damage." Nathaniel moved closer to Mariah, their bodies forming a protective wall in front of Sophia. The connection between them, forged through danger and discovery, radiated like physical heat. "It's over, Aunt Eleanor. The evidence has already been transmitted to authorities and media." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. A guard whispered in her ear, confirming Nathaniel's claim. "You think this ends with me?" She called as FBI agents flooded the room, Chin having come through with his promise. "The network protects itself, and you just made yourselves the most hunted people in it. Why have you stood up to someone who once held power over you?" The FBI agents led his aunt away in handcuffs, but her parting smile chilled Mariah. "You think this ends with me?" she called back. "The network protects itself, and you've just made yourselves the most hunted people in it." As if confirming her words, Mariah's phone rang. The hospital calling about her brother. They were children marked by the same evil, now adults bound by choice rather than blood, proving that family isn't what's forced upon you, but what you build from the wreckage. 1 year later, Mariah stood on the grounds of what had once been the coal estate in Charleston. The mansion remained, but its purpose had transformed. Where old money had once hidden ugly secrets, healing now took root. The Birthmark Foundation officially opened today, a rehabilitation center for survivors of trafficking. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The fortune built on stealing children, now dedicated to saving them. "Ready?" Nathaniel appeared beside her, handsome in a tailored suit. "As I'll ever be." They'd spent the year in constant motion, testifying against Eleanor Cole and her network, protecting Michael, who had fully recovered from his illness, helping Sophia find her way back to herself, a slower journey with uncertain destination. Eleanor's threats had proven real. Twice they'd relocated due to threats. 3 times they'd escaped attempts on their lives. But with each arrest, each facility shut down, the danger diminished. "She's here," Nathaniel said, nodding toward the arriving car. Sophia emerged slowly, assisted by her therapist. At 32, she had the hesitancy of a much older woman, but awareness had returned to her eyes. She recognized Nathaniel now, spoke occasionally, small victories that felt monumental. The ribbon-cutting ceremony gathered survivors, law enforcement, and media. Mariah found herself at the microphone, Nathaniel's steady presence beside her. "This place once represented wealth built on suffering," she told the crowd. "Today, we reclaim it for healing. Every person who walks through these doors carries scars, visible or hidden. Here, those scars become proof of survival, not shame." Her hand unconsciously touched her shoulder, where the mark remained, no longer a brand of ownership, but a badge of endurance. Afterward, when the crowds departed and evening settled over the property, Nathaniel led her to the gardens. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees, creating magic from darkness. "I have something to ask you," he said, voice suddenly uncertain. The ring was simple, elegant, nothing like the ostentatious wealth his family had flaunted. He dropped to one knee on the grass. "Mariah Thompson, we found each other through darkness. Will you build a life of light with me?" Tears blurred her vision as she nodded. Yes. Their kiss sealed more than a proposal. It celebrated survival, transformation, purpose found in pain. Later, in their suite in the mansion's east wing, they came together with the familiarity of bodies that had learned each other's secrets. His mouth traced the birthmark on her shoulder, reclaiming it with love. Her hands mapped the contours of his face, memorizing joy instead of anguish. What would you build if you could transform your deepest pain into purpose? If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe. Share in the comments if you've ever found family in unexpected places. Remember, sometimes the most beautiful beginnings rise from the ashes of what was meant to destroy us. While his body fought for survival, Christopher's empire was under attack, and the same person who had kept them apart might be the one dismantling everything he'd built. A week into their reluctant cohabitation, Christopher's phone rang at 5 a.m. Maya heard his sharp intake of breath from the other room, followed by rapid footsteps. "I'll be there in 30, he said, voice tight with controlled panic. Maya found him in the kitchen, downing pills with coffee. "What's wrong?" "Board emergency." His hand shook slightly. "Someone's making a play for my company. You're not well enough. I don't have a choice." He looked pale, dark circles prominent under his eyes. Maya made a quick decision. "Then I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not. Either I come along to monitor you, or you're not going." She crossed her arms. "Doctor's orders." 20 minutes later, they stepped into the gleaming Hale Investments headquarters. Employees stared as Christopher strode through with Maya at his side. The boardroom fell silent as Maya entered beside him. Power suits and predatory smiles freezing at the sight of the blood donor, now privy to their conversations. "Gentlemen, this is Nurse Johnson," Christopher announced. "She stays." An older man with silver hair smirked. "Medical troubles, Christopher? How convenient timing." Maya felt Christopher stiffen beside her. "Just temporary, Douglas. Now what's this about Vertex Technologies?" The meeting revealed the crisis. Someone had leaked confidential acquisition plans, sending stocks plummeting. As board members pointed fingers, Maya noticed how they watched Christopher, like wolves assessing wounded prey. "You look unwell, Christopher," Douglas commented. "Perhaps your nurse friend should take you home." The emphasis on nurse friend sent warning signals through Maya. How did they know her relationship to Christopher? After the meeting, Christopher swayed slightly in the elevator. Maya steadied him, her hand on his arm. "How did they know about me?" she asked. "They shouldn't have," he replied, voice grim. "I told no one." Back at the penthouse, Christopher collapsed onto the couch. Maya helped him remove his tie, fingers brushing his neck. The professional touch triggered something deeply unprofessional in her memory. His lips on that same spot 2 years ago. "I need to change for the hospital fundraiser tonight," he said, attempting to stand. "You need rest," she countered. "What I need is to show strength. Weakness in my condition invites predators." Maya helped him to his bedroom, reluctantly acknowledging he was right. As she helped him button a fresh shirt, their eyes met in the mirror. Her fingers paused on his chest. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for coming today." The board members smirked as he mentioned, "Your nurse friend," sent a chill through Christopher's spine. How did they know about Miami when he'd told no one? Have you ever seen someone fight battles on multiple fronts? What does it reveal about a person's character when they're cornered? Share your thoughts below. The test results confirmed what she had begun to suspect. This wasn't just about blood compatibility, but a genetic connection neither of them could have anticipated. While Christopher slept after his second transfusion, Maya studied his medical file more carefully. Something didn't add up. The specific compatibility markers between their blood went beyond rare. They were practically impossible without some genetic link. Maya called a former colleague at Newark Memorial's lab. "Can you run a comparison test?" "Off the record." 2 days later, the lab report trembled in her hands. Numbers and markers highlighting impossible coincidences that couldn't be explained by chance alone. According to these results, she and Christopher shared genetic markers typically found in relatives. Not close ones, but enough to raise questions. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Christopher said, finding her staring at the papers. Maya handed him the report. "Our blood compatibility isn't random. We share genetic markers." "That's impossible," he said, scanning the data. "I have no family." "Everyone has family," Maya corrected. "You might not know them." Christopher's face hardened. "My parents died when I was 7. No siblings, no extended family claimed me. Foster care until college. I checked every database when I had money. No matches." "Then how do you explain this?" Maya pointed to the highlighted sections. "A mistake, or a manipulation." His eyes narrowed. "The same manipulation that separated us 2 years ago." They stood in his kitchen, the report between them, both processing implications. The space between them seemed charged with possibilities. Family, fate, conspiracy. "Someone wanted us apart in Miami, but together now," Maya said. "The question is why?" Christopher moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne. "Who benefits from my illness? From your blood being the cure?" "Dr. Voss," they said simultaneously. The realization created an unexpected bond between them. Co-conspirators now, not just reluctant housemates. Christopher's hand found hers across the counter, a touch of alliance that quickly became something more. Without warning, he pulled her against him, his mouth finding hers with the familiar hunger that had never really disappeared. Maya's response was immediate, her body remembering his before her mind could raise objections. They broke apart, breathless. The medical report crumpled between them. "We shouldn't," she whispered. "Because we might be related?" His voice held bitter humor. "Because someone is playing us, and until we know why." Christopher kissed her again, cutting off her words. "I've spent 2 years believing you used me," he said against her lips. "Let me believe something else now." The kiss deepened, years of misunderstanding and false accusations melting away under the truth that their bodies had always known. Whatever connected them was powerful, undeniable. As she pulled away from his embrace, guilt washing over her, Maya knew she had to tell him what the blood work really showed, a truth that would change everything between them forever. What would you do if you discovered an unexpected connection with someone from your past? Would you run from it or explore it? Drop your answer in the comments. The blood flowing through their veins carried the same genetic marker, a hereditary trait so rare it could only mean they shared more than a night in Miami. "We need to know where we come from," Maya said the next morning. They sat at his dining table, laptops open, coffee growing cold. "If we share genes, we share ancestry." Christopher's face remained guarded. "My birth certificate lists parents' names, but they died in a car crash when I was 7. No other family ever came forward." "Where were you born?" "Philadelphia, General. December 1988. Maya froze. "I was born there too. October 1994. They stared at each other, the impossible coincidence hanging between them. Christopher broke first, pulling up ancestry websites. Maya dug out her own birth records from her phone. Family photos spread across his dining table, like puzzle pieces from different boxes, searching for the connection point neither had known existed. Maya's childhood in Atlanta with her single mother. Christopher's years in Philadelphia foster homes before a scholarship to Penn. "My mother never talked about my father," Maya admitted. "Just said he wasn't ready for family life." "Could we share a father?" Christopher asked, the question making both uncomfortable given their attraction. "The markers suggest more distant relation," Maya said. "Maybe second cousins." Christopher pulled up hospital records from his company's medical database. Philadelphia General, 1988 through 1994. "Should you be accessing that?" "It's my company's database. We digitized their archives 5 years ago." Hours passed as they searched. The penthouse windows darkened to night, then lightened with dawn. Their shoulders touched as they hunched over records. The contact neither acknowledged nor avoided. "Look at this," Christopher said suddenly. "Dr. Eleanor Voss. She was the head of hematology at Philadelphia General during both our births." "The same Dr. Voss who's treating you now." Maya leaned closer. "Can't be coincidence," Christopher muttered. "She never mentioned knowing my parents." The doctor's name appeared repeatedly in both their birth records, an echo across decades. What connected a renowned hematologist to both their families? And why bring them together now? "Your birth was complicated," Christopher noted, reading Maya's file. "Blood transfusions for your mother." "Your birth too," Maya pointed out. "Emergency surgery for your mother." As the pattern emerged, the attraction between them took on forbidden dimensions. What if they were connected by blood? The chemistry they couldn't deny suddenly felt taboo. Christopher's hand brushed hers as they reached for the same document. Neither pulled away, the conflicted desires evident in their hesitation. "Even if we are related," he said quietly, "something about you feels like home." The midnight call from the private investigator changed everything. They weren't related at all. The identical genetic markers were the result of something far more calculated and dangerous. How would you react if fate seemed to be both drawing you to someone and creating impossible barriers? Is some attraction meant to remain unfulfilled? Let's know your thoughts. Someone had altered their medical records, creating a false connection to keep them apart. The same person who now needed them together under one roof. The private investigator's voice crackled through the speakerphone. "The genetic markers are artificial, created through modified protein therapy. They weren't born in your blood, they were placed there." Maya and Christopher exchanged shocked glances across the kitchen island. Dawn light streamed through the windows, illuminating their exhausted faces after a sleepless night. "Are you certain?" Christopher demanded. "Positive. I compared original paper records with the digital versions. Someone systematically altered both your medical histories over decades. The blood compatibility is real, but the familial markers were manufactured." After hanging up, Christopher's face darkened with fury. We've been lab rats in someone's experiment. Maya's nursing knowledge clicked into place. The treatments you're receiving, they're enhancing the connection between our blood, not treating the underlying condition. Dr. Voss, Christopher said, it has to be. They swept the apartment for surveillance, finding tiny cameras and light fixtures, air vents, even shower heads. The security footage played on his laptop, showing a shadow moving through his apartment while they slept, someone who had access, someone they trusted. She's been watching us, Maya whispered, horror dawning. Everything we've done, everything we've said. Christopher smashed the cameras methodically, room by room. No more. That night, with the penthouse finally private, the weight of manipulation and false separation crashed over them. 2 years of misunderstanding, of Christopher believing Maya had used him, of Maya thinking she'd been abandoned, all fabricated by someone else. She kept us apart in Miami, Maya realized. The hotel maid who took your note and sent those fake messages from you asking for money, Christopher finished. Then engineered my illness to bring you back when she needed us together. But why? I don't know yet. Christopher moved closer, touching her face with unexpected gentleness. But I do know one thing wasn't manipulated. The kiss began soft, tentative, before deepening into something urgent and necessary. Without cameras watching, without fear of taboo blood connections, they surrendered to what had always existed between them. His hands remembered her body, finding places that made her gasp just as they had in Miami. Her fingers traced the planes of his chest, both familiar and new. They moved to his bedroom, clothes marking a trail behind them. Are you sure? He asked, poised above her. The only thing I'm sure of is this, she answered, pulling him down to her. Their bodies joined with the recognition of coming home after a long absence. Each touch erased another lie they believed. Each kiss rebuilt trust that had been stolen from them. Afterward, Maya traced patterns on his chest, her head tucked under his chin. What happens now? We play along, Christopher said. Make her believe her plan is working, until we find out what she really wants. The voice message arrived at midnight, the phone's glow illuminating their entwined bodies. The treatment is working exactly as designed. Keep taking your medication, Mr. Hale. Medication that only Maya had been administering. When have you realized someone was manipulating your perception of reality? How did you distinguish truth from fabrication? Share your experience below. The medicine meant to save his life was the same compound slowly poisoning him, and Maya's blood was the only thing keeping him alive. Don't take it, Maya said the next morning, holding the pill bottle away from Christopher. Morning light caught the clear capsules, making them gleam innocently. If I don't, she'll know we suspect something, Christopher argued. Maya emptied one capsule onto a saucer, studying the white powder. I need to know what's in these. They found a private lab willing to analyze the medication without questions. One of the benefits of Christopher's wealth and connections. While waiting for results, they maintained the charade, Maya administering treatments while palming the actual pills. Christopher grew stronger without the medication, his color improving, energy returning. Whatever Dr. Voss was giving him had been causing the symptoms, not treating them. She's creating dependency, Maya realized. Making her body need my blood specifically. The private lab hummed with machines analyzing the clear liquid from his prescription bottles. Innocent-looking drops that had orchestrated their reunion and his decline. The technician looked troubled as he delivered results. It's a compound that targets blood cell production, he explained. Creates artificial antibodies that attack normal transfusions but accept blood with specific markers. My markers, Maya said quietly. Precisely. Without regular transfusions from the compatible donor, organ failure begins within days. Quite ingenious, actually. Ingeniously evil, Christopher muttered. Back at the penthouse, they pieced together Dr. Voss's plan. She had methodically engineered Christopher's illness, separated them after Miami when they might have formed a relationship naturally, then forced them together when she needed them under observation. The question is why, Christopher said. What does she gain? Access to your company's medical research? Maya suggested. Revenge for something? They searched Dr. Voss's background, finding connections to Christopher's father. Both had worked at the same pharmaceutical company decades ago. My father built Hale Pharmaceuticals from nothing, Christopher said. Became wealthy through early patents on blood treatments. Dr. Voss was there at the beginning, Maya noted, reading old articles. Then suddenly disappeared from the company records. Their research turned up a lawsuit, buried by money and legal maneuvering, where Eleanor Voss had accused Robert Hale of stealing her research on blood disorders. She lost everything, Christopher said grimly, while my father built an empire on her work. The moral complexity stunned them both. If true, Dr. Voss had legitimate grievances, yet her methods were unconscionable. Christopher pulled Maya close, the warmth of her body against as a reminder of what else had been stolen from them. 2 years they could have had together. Whatever my father did, he whispered into her hair, I'll make it right. Without sacrificing yourself, Maya insisted. Their plan formed. Continue the treatment charade while gathering evidence against Dr. Voss. Christopher would appear increasingly dependent on Maya's blood while actually detoxing from the poison. They sealed their pact with touches that grew more certain each time, their bodies communicating truths their words couldn't fully express. With each night together, the manipulation that had defined their connection faded, replaced by something genuine neither had expected to find. When the security alarm blared at 3 a.m., they realized their investigation had triggered the endgame, and the architect of their suffering was inside the penthouse. What would you sacrifice to save someone who once doubted you? How far would you go to prove your integrity? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. The woman who had mentored Maya since nursing school now stood before them with a syringe. Christopher's trusted doctor, the architect of a vengeance 2 years in the making. The alarm stopped as suddenly as it had started. Maya and Christopher froze in the darkened living room, the city lights through the windows casting long shadows across the floor. The elevator indicator lit up. Someone had overridden the security protocols. Hide, Christopher whispered, pushing Maya toward the bedroom. I'm not leaving you, she hissed back, grabbing a knife from the kitchen counter. The elevator doors slid open silently. Dr. Eleanor Voss stepped out, immaculate even at 3 a.m. in a tailored pantsuit, her silver hair pulled into a tight bun. The moonlight through the windows illuminated the syringe in her gloved hand. You've stopped taking your medication, Christopher, she said calmly. That was unwise. Christopher stepped forward, placing himself between Dr. Voss and Maya. I know what you're doing, Eleanor. I know about the lawsuit against my father. A flicker of surprise crossed her face before her composure returned. Your father was a thief who built his fortune on stolen research, my research. That doesn't justify poisoning his son, Maya said, moving beside Christopher. Dr. Voss's gaze shifted to Maya, something like disappointment in her eyes. I mentored you at Newark Memorial for a reason, Maya. Your genetic markers made you perfect for this. I've been preparing you both for years. The revelation hit Maya like a physical blow. You arranged my transfer from Atlanta? I arrange everything. Dr. Voss stepped closer. The night in Miami was meant to establish emotional connection, then separation to create longing. Now reunion under controlled conditions. For what? Christopher demanded. To perfect my treatment protocol. Dr. Voss gestured with the syringe. What your father stole was only the beginning. The real breakthrough was blood bonding, creating permanent dependency between matched donors and recipients. Maya's nursing knowledge clicked into place. You're creating artificial blood addiction. Il préfère permanente compatibilité. Dr. Voss smiled thinly. Imagine the market. Wealthy patients paying millions for perfect blood matches. Donors contracted for life. Human slavery, Christopher spat. Human evolution, Dr. Voss corrected. Your father understood the potential before he betrayed me. Now his company will perfect what he stole, with his son as the primary test subject. She moved with surprising speed for her age, lunging toward Christopher with the syringe. Maya intercepted, knocking her arm aside. The syringe clattered across the floor as they struggled. You don't understand what's at stake, Dr. Voss gasped as Christopher restrained her. The compound is already in his system. Without continued treatment, the withdrawal will kill him. You're lying, Maya said, but doubt crept into her voice. Check his blood work from yesterday, Dr. Voss challenged. The modified cells are multiplying. Only I can control them now. Christopher's face paled as he recognized the truth in her words. The private lab results had shown anomalies they hadn't fully understood. As Christopher collapsed, the poison spreading through his system, Dr. Voss turned to Maya with chilling calm. Now you have a choice. Save him with your blood one last time, or let him die knowing the truth about who really abandoned whom in Miami. Have you ever discovered someone you trusted completely had betrayed you? How do you recover from that kind of deception? Share your thoughts below. With his life draining away beneath her hands, Maya faced an impossible choice. Trust the woman who had betrayed them both or attempt a medical procedure she'd never performed outside an emergency room. Christopher convulsed on the living room floor, his skin burning with fever. Maya pressed her fingers to his neck, finding his pulse racing dangerously fast. "What did you do to him?" she demanded, looking up at Dr. Voss. "His body is rejecting its own blood." Dr. Voss remained calm, clinical. "The compound triggers an autoimmune response when the donor blood, your blood, is withdrawn." Quite elegant, actually. Maya's mind raced through her medical training. "I need to do a direct transfusion." "You need my stabilizing agent," Dr. Voss corrected, retrieving the fallen syringe. "Without it, your blood will only accelerate the reaction." The kitchen island became an emergency operating table. Crystal glasses shattered on the floor, the penthouse's pristine white surfaces stained crimson as Maya fought to keep Christopher's heart beating. His breathing grew shallow, eyes unfocused as they locked on hers. "Don't trust her," he managed between gasps. Dr. Voss prepared the four-line with practiced efficiency. "You have approximately 3 minutes before organ failure begins. The choice is simple, Maya. My treatment or his death." Maya's hands trembled as she inserted the needle into Christopher's arm. Everything in her training screamed against trusting Dr. Voss, but Christopher's deteriorating vitals left no room for hesitation. "If this kills him," Maya started. "It won't," Dr. Voss interrupted. "He's far too valuable to me dead." Maya made her decision. She started the direct blood transfusion from her arm to Christopher's, but modified the setup, filtering his incoming blood through gauze soaked in saline. A crude but potentially effective way to dilute any compound in her blood before it entered his system. Dr. Voss noticed too late. "What are you doing?" "Saving him my way," Maya replied, her nurse's training taking over. "The compound needs direct transfer to maintain potency. Dilution should weaken the bond temporarily." Christopher's color improved slightly as Maya's filtered blood entered his system. Dr. Voss watched with scientific interest despite her anger. "Clever," she admitted, "but temporary. The molecular bonds are already formed. He'll need you again within 24 hours. Maya continued the transfusion, Christopher's hand gripping hers weakly as blood flowed between them. The most intimate connection possible, life literally passing from her body to his. "Why us?" Maya asked, keeping Dr. Voss talking while the transfusion continued. "Out of everyone, why choose us?" "Genetic compatibility is rare," Dr. Voss explained, professional pride overriding caution. "You two were perfect matches for my database. The emotional connection was just a bonus. It strengthens the physical bond." As color returned to Christopher's face, Maya noticed his free hand inching toward his phone on the floor. She kept Dr. Voss's attention focused on her. "Your research could help people," Maya said. "Why turn it into this?" "Because help doesn't pay like dependency does," Dr. Voss replied bitterly. "Your generation wouldn't understand. I watched Robert Hale build billions from my work while I struggled to fund basic research." When Christopher's eyes finally opened, his first words weren't about his brush with death, but a revelation. "I know why she did this, and it's because of what my father did to her daughter." What gives someone the strength to perform under unimaginable pressure? Have you ever found capability within yourself you never knew existed? Tell us in the comments. The fortune built on medical patents that had made Christopher wealthy was founded on research stolen from Dr. Voss's daughter. Research about the very blood condition now threatening his life. Dawn broke over the Manhattan skyline, painting the aftermath of violence in soft gold light. Glass shards glittering like diamonds on the floor as truth finally emerged from shadow. Dr. Voss sat bound to a dining chair with extension cords, the police on their way. Christopher, weak but stable, leaned against the counter while Maya monitored his vitals. "Your father didn't just steal my research," Dr. Voss said, resignation replacing her earlier coldness. "He stole my daughter's future." "Your daughter?" Maya asked. "Allison was brilliant, more talented than me." Dr. Voss's eyes softened at the memory. She discovered the blood bonding mechanism while still in medical school. Robert Hale was her mentor, her idol. Christopher stared at her with new understanding. She committed suicide 20 years ago. Dr. Voss nodded once, sharply. "After your father claimed her discovery as his own. After the board dismissed her accusations because she was young, female, and emotional. After the patent made him millions while she faced scientific ridicule. The pieces aligned in Maya's mind. A mother's decades-long quest for justice, warped by grief into something darker. So you recreated her research," Christopher said, "and decided to use me to prove it worked." "Poetic justice," Dr. Voss replied. "The son pays for the father's crimes." Christopher moved to the window, looking out at the city his family's wealth had helped build. "My father died when I was 7. I never knew him as the man you describe. Yet you benefited from his theft," Dr. Voss countered. "Every privilege you enjoy was built on Allison's discovery." The heavy silence that followed held the weight of complicit inheritance, the burden of enjoying fruits from a poison tree. "I can't change what my father did," Christopher finally said, "but I can right his wrongs." Maya watched the conflict play across his face, loyalty to family legacy battling newly discovered truth. She moved beside him, her hand finding his. "We'll need her help," Maya said quietly. "The compound is still in your system." Their eyes met, understanding passing between them. Whatever came next, they would face it together, their connection now running deeper than the artificial blood bond. That night, after the police had taken statements and left Dr. Voss in custody, Maya and Christopher collapsed in a bed, the emotional and physical toll overwhelming them both. His arms encircled her, pulling her against his chest as if afraid she might disappear. "You saved my life," he murmured against her hair. "We saved each other," she corrected. Their bodies sought comfort and connection, hands exploring with reverent familiarity. Each touch acknowledged what they'd survived together, what they discovered about themselves and each other. "What happens now?" Maya asked afterward, her head resting on his chest. The breaking news alert flashed across his phone. Hale Pharmaceutical stock in free fall after anonymous whistleblower reveals decades of data theft, and Maya realized Dr. Voss had never intended to kill Christopher. She wanted him alive to witness the destruction of everything bearing his name. How would you handle discovering your family's success was built on someone else's suffering? Can we truly separate ourselves from the actions of those who came before us? Share your thoughts below. To save his life once required her blood. To save his soul required the courage to surrender what generations of Hales had fought to protect. The truth, regardless of cost. "I'm calling a press conference," Christopher announced 3 days later. The penthouse had been cleaned of broken glass and spilled blood, but the truth revealed that night couldn't be so easily wiped away. Maya looked up from her laptop where she'd been reviewing Dr. Voss's research files, granted access as part of a plea deal to help treat Christopher's condition. "Are you sure? Your company stock has already dropped 30%. "I'm sure." His face held new resolve. "My father stole someone's life work. I won't continue profiting from that theft." Camera flashes exploded like lightning as he approached the podium, the weight of his family's secrets visible in the set of his shoulders, even as Maya's presence at his side straightened his spine. Reporters packed the Hale Pharmaceuticals lobby, drawn by rumors of corporate scandal. "My name is Christopher Hale," he began, his voice steady despite the fever still lingering in his system. "And I'm here to correct a historical injustice committed by Hale Pharmaceuticals." Maya watched from the side as he detailed the company's founding. How his father had stolen research from a brilliant young scientist named Allison Voss, whose blood-bonding discoveries had built the Hale fortune. "I cannot change the past," Christopher continued, "but I can acknowledge the truth and take responsibility for it. Effective immediately, I am renaming our primary blood treatment patent to the Allison Voss Protocol and redirecting all profits to a foundation in her name." Reporters shouted questions about the company's future, about stock prices and shareholder lawsuits. Christopher fielded them with newfound clarity, no longer defending a legacy, but building a new one. In their hotel room that night, the penthouse deemed unsafe until security could be overhauled, Christopher sat on the edge of the bed, looking smaller without his corporate armor. "My grandfather came from nothing," he said quietly. "Work night shifts at a factory to put my father through college. I always thought our success was the American dream story." Maya sat beside him, taking his hand. "Most dreams have complicated origins. What my father did to Allison Voss." He shook his head. "How do I make that right?" "By doing exactly what you did today," Maya said. "Acknowledging the truth is the first step toward healing." The intimacy of the moment, his vulnerability, her strength, created a current between them that had nothing to do with blood compatibility and everything to do with choice. His hand cupped her face, eyes asking permission she readily granted. Their coming together that night held new meaning, the first time without secrets or manipulation between them. Every touch an affirmation, every kiss a promise of honesty. "I never thought I'd say this," Christopher murmured afterward, "but I'm almost grateful for Dr. Voss's twisted experiment." "Because it saved your company's reputation?" Maya asked. "Because it brought you back to me," he corrected, "though I wish we hadn't lost 2 years." As reporters shouted questions about the company's future, Christopher looked past them to where Dr. Voss stood at the back of the room, her daughter's research files clutched to her chest. The final piece of a puzzle that had nearly cost them everything. What's harder, facing external judgment or living with your own knowledge of right and wrong? When have you chosen truth over self-protection? Let us know in the comments. 1 year after her blood had saved his life, Maya stood beside Christopher as they cut the ribbon on the Voss Research Center. Proof that some wounds could heal with enough truth, time, and courage to begin again. This facility will continue the groundbreaking work of Dr. Allison Voss, Christopher announced to the gathered crowd, focusing on blood disorders affecting children in underserved communities. The research center's glass walls reflected the gathered crowd, families of patients with a rare blood disorder standing alongside scientists and former executives. A community built from the ashes of deception. Dr. Eleanor Voss, granted compassionate release from prison to attend, watched from her wheelchair, her face lined with complex emotions. Maya squeezed Christopher's hand as he finished his speech. They had come so far from that chance meeting in the donor center. His body had finally purged the last traces of the compound, though they still shared a unique blood compatibility that medical science couldn't fully explain. "Your father would be proud," an elderly board member told Christopher afterward. "No, Christopher replied calmly. He wouldn't." And that's how I know we're on the right path. The Hale Company had survived, restructured with transparency and ethics at its core. The Allison Voss Foundation now controlled the patents, funding research and treatment for rare blood disorders worldwide. Later that evening, in the privacy of their new brownstone in Brooklyn, far from the glass and steel of his former penthouse, Christopher dropped to one knee. "I had this whole speech prepared," he said, opening a small velvet box, "about how you saved my life, how your blood runs through my veins. But the truth is simpler than that." Maya's heart raced as he continued. "I love you," he said, "not because fate or science or some mad doctor threw us together, but because when everything else was built on lies, what we found together was real." The ring gleamed in the soft lighting. Not an ostentatious diamond, but a band of rose gold set with tiny rubies like droplets of blood. "Yes," she whispered, pulling him to his feet and into her arms. Their celebration became something more primal, clothes discarded as they made their way to the bedroom. Each touch affirmed their journey, from strangers to reluctant allies to partners in every sense. His mouth traced paths along her skin. Her hands reclaimed territory that had always belonged to her. "Mine," she murmured against his neck. "Yours," he agreed, surrendering to her completely. Afterward, as moonlight spilled across their entwined bodies, Maya noticed the small scar on her arm from that first blood donation. A permanent reminder that sometimes what flows between two people isn't just chemistry or passion, but the courage to see each other clearly, flaws and all, and choose to stay anyway. Dr. Voss's manipulation had created their initial connection, but what sustained them now was something no science could engineer: the choice to build something meaningful from painful truth. Christopher's fingers traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. "I've been thinking about expanding the foundation's work," he said. "Blood disorders in developing countries. Always looking forward," Maya teased, kissing his chest. "I have a lot to make up for," he replied. "We both got second chances." As they left the ceremony hand in hand, Maya noticed the small scar on her arm from that first blood donation. A permanent reminder that sometimes what flows between two people isn't just chemistry or passion, but the courage to see each other clearly, flaws and all, and choose to stay anyway. What does it take to transform betrayal into beginning? To build something meaningful from painful truth? Share what you believe about redemption in the comments below.